the 179th gathering of St. James as a parish annual meeting. So it's my honor and privilege to call this meeting to order. At this time, I'd like to invite forward Father Drew to give our opening prayer.
The Lord be with you. Let us pray. Almighty and ever-living God, source of all wisdom and understanding, be present with those of us who take counsel here at St. James for our annual meeting, for the renewal and the mission of your church. Teach us in all things to seek first your honor and glory. Guide us to perceive what is right, and grant us both the courage to pursue it and the grace to accomplish it. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Our first act of business is to approve the minutes from last year's meeting. The vestry had to pass a special resolution to grant us the permission to meet virtually. So you might remember last year we met virtually on Zoom only. However, the minutes are here in your booklet. Those gathered in this space, there are copies of the booklets on the table. There is also a QR code if you would like a full color version of the PDF that was also emailed last night. I emailed this morning and will be made available this week in the Herald email. Please take a moment to review the minutes from last year. And do I have a motion to accept the minutes as presented? Thank you, Mimi, seconded by Betsy. Thank you so much. Is there any further discussion regarding the minutes as presented? If not, all in favor? Opposed? So ordered. The next bit of business that I did want to do is in this report, a lot of your staff and others have gone to great detail to kind of share and give a snapshot of this past year as well as what is to come in the future. There is more detail than we are able to present in our time here. And so I would like to ask someone to make a motion in order to submit this report to be filed with this year's minutes as part of the minutes. Thank you, Mickey. Is there a second? Someone way in the back. Oh, there we go. Thank you. So we've got a second, a motion and a second. Are there any other comments? If not, all in favor of adding the annual report to this year's minutes, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? So ordered. I do hope that you will take a time to read through, as one of our collects says, to read, mark, and inwardly digest. There are a lot of exciting things happening. And as I said, this only gives a snapshot in a sort of two-dimensional way. But the reality is the exciting things happening day to day in this place through you and through many others. It's just incredible mission and ministry. And I just want to thank each and every one of you for all that you do to make St. James what it is. And now, without further ado, I do want to invite up now Trey Roberts, our current senior warden.
I just want to take a quick minute to recognize our outgoing and incoming vestry and associate vestry members. So we would like to thank associate vestry members who've served for the last 3 years: Julie Adams, Elise Dietz, Aaron Irby, Stuart Ross, Carlos Spate, Lindsay Ussery, and Jim Van Hook. And welcome our new incoming associate vestry members: Bobby Crouch, Amos Davis, Sarah Gray, Seth Lawrence, Blair Napolitano, Liz Nolan, and Laura Suri. So thank you to all the associate vestry members, new and retiring, that are willing to serve. Let's give them a round of applause. Same for the vestry. We'd like to thank Amy Kurtz, Van Leonard, Amy Rabelais, John Sykes, and Stuart Tharp as outgoing vestry members. And welcome Chet Carter, Ben Dam, Ann Holmes, Bunny Hines, Mary Pessis, and Lizette Phillips. So welcome to them as well. It's been an honor to serve as senior warden this last year. Thanks to Father Chris's leadership, it's been an easy task for me. But I am very happy to welcome newly elected Anita Byrne to take over this year, and she'll do a wonderful job for St. James as well. Father Chris?
So as we started actually in the 2019 into 2020, we do the vestry election in sort of two parts now as way of reminder. The first part is that the nominating committee puts together a slate of 9 to 12 nominees or candidates. Then we do a mailed ballot from that in order to create a slate. This is so that we live within our bylaws and also the canons of the church. However, that mailed ballot technically is not the election as much as that is in order to create or elect the slate that is presented today for the vestry. So one of the things that we must do is officially elect the slate as presented, as just read by Trey. And then also, the custom of the church is that the associate vestry helps put together the slate that is presented and adopted here at the annual meeting as well. So we have two votes that are coming up. The first vote is for the vestry as elected. Just as a way of reminder, we had over 300 votes received. We have about 550, I forget the exact number, but around 550 eligible voters in the rolls. To be an eligible voter, you must be over 18 and be an active contributor in the past year financially to the church, as well as active in the life of the church. And so from that, we had a little over 550 voters, eligible voters, and from that, we had a little over 300 votes received. This is a marked increase from what we had back when we would do on annual meeting Sunday elections. So it's a wonderful to see so many participate in this process. And so from that, the nominees are as listed in your booklet as well as on the slideshow. Is there a motion to vote on these as a slate? Van, thank you so much. Seconded by Lolly. Thank you all so much. Is there any further discussion regarding the slate as presented? If not, all in favor? All opposed? So ordered, the slate is accepted. Congratulations to our newest vestry members, and thank you to all those who put themselves forward. I received several comments saying, Chris, can't we not make the slate so good? All 10 people that were on the ballot this year were just amazing, and it was too hard to decide. But that's a good problem to have. That just is a testament to how incredible the people, the St. James are. And so thank you so much for all those willing to put themselves forward. Next, we have coming from the Associate Vestry to be presented a slate of the new members as listed up on the slide. Is there a motion to accept this nomination of slate? Thank you, John. Is there a second? Thank you, Bill. Any discussion? In that case, all in favor? All opposed? The motion passes. Thank you so much, each and every one of you, again, for the AV. And speaking of the AV, against all odds, we didn't know if food was going to get delivered on Friday with the cold weather coming in, but it did. So can we please give the Associate Vestry a big round of applause for the breakfast this morning? And now I'd like to hand the podium back to Trey Roberts to give a report on the capital campaign as well as the various capital projects that are occurring.
Thanks, Chris. I just want to briefly address the capital campaigns over the last several years. I know everyone in attendance here is very well aware of our efforts, and I want to thank each of you for your contributions and your support of our capital efforts. Just a quick recap. In 2017, we realized that the church had some brick issues and needed to be repointed. So we put together the Love of Christ Always campaign, and we quickly raised $2.2 million and repointed the bricks on the church back in 2018. In 2019, it was decided that a larger scale campaign that would address greater issues around the campus needed to be undertaken. So under the direction of Helen Campbell, Lee Griffin, and John Nolan, we started the Preserving Our Past and Securing Our Future campaign. Our goal was to raise $3.5 million, and we were so successful thanks to each of you. Over 70% of our current pledging households participated in this campaign, and we were able to raise just under $4.1 million. To date, we've collected $1.9 million of this, and we'll continue collecting over a 5-year period. So roughly for these two campaigns together, we've raised $7 million in a very short amount of time. So you've seen a lot of the work take place already, obviously. In 2020, the interior church was renovated. In the summer of 2020, summer of 2021, we installed our new organ. And then to come, we've got this summer, the parking lot unification project. We're also replacing several of the roofs on the campus, and we hope to address the windows at the school in Werline Hall. So there's still a lot of work to be done, and you'll see that over the next 2 years as time allows. But everything's going great with these two capital campaigns, and couldn't do any of this without your support. So thank you very much.
Are there any questions about the capital campaign or the capital projects that have happened and are ongoing? I will take silence as either total bewilderment or we have just been that effective in communication. I'm going to choose the latter rather than the former. Is there any other, we actually have a pretty light agenda for today, so before we move to the financial treasurer's report, is there any other old business that you, St. James, feel that we need to address this day? Not seeing any. Is there any new business that we need to address? All right, then without further ado, the man of the hour, Josh Pessis, and as he makes his way up to the microphone, I do want to take this moment to say that Josh has faithfully served as treasurer for 6 years, which is the maximum sentence, and I do mean that as that. He has been walking with you and with all of us and the vestry through highs and lows over the last 6 years, and he has done it faithfully. There is no man who has probably earned more treasure in heaven than Josh when we were in lockdown trying to apply for PPP loans. The number of phone calls that he received from your rector is embarrassing. But he stayed calm, cool, and stayed on it while also running his own business and managed and juggled all of that. And so, Josh, on behalf of St. James, I just cannot thank you enough for your faithful service to the campus.
All right, on to the real exciting stuff. So this morning, I'll obviously be reviewing our finances, where we stand. I'll give a high-level view of our assets and liabilities, 2021 operating performance, and our budget for 2022. If you have your packet, specifically, you can refer to pages 10 and 11. We'll start with our balance sheet. I don't know that we have any high-level detail in the packet, but we're in a really nice place. We have a combined checking balance of over $1.5 million. We have about $850,000 in restricted cash related to our capital campaign and expected expenses there. Based on, yes.
A little loud, please.
Sure. Is this better? Sorry. Okay. So based on positive investment performance, total investments reached just over $5.9 million, and Bob Boucher provided a great write-up of the investment summary in the packet. That's on page 14, so please take a look at that. If we consider fixed assets, investments, and all other items, we've got total assets of just under $20 million. And at year end, we had temporarily restricted funds of just over $1 million and 4.76 million in permanently restricted funds. So that's it for the balance sheet. Actually, let me just touch on something. Trey talked about the expenses that arose from the capital campaign starting in 2020, or the capital renovation starting in 2020. Prior to the capital campaign starting, we did borrow $600,000 from our investments to fund those expenses. At the time, the vestry approved a 5-year payback schedule, and in 2021, we did make the first payment back on that. So very important that we keep on track there. And just to note, St. James does remain debt-free to any outside creditors. Turning to our income statement, no other way to say this than we had a very nice operating performance in 2021. Higher revenues than expected, lower expenses than we thought. Just to provide a little color, pledge income was $1.22 million. That's $8,000 ahead of budget and $72,000 ahead of last year. Total contributions of $1.3 million, $15,000 ahead of budget, and up $114,000 over last year. And if we take a step back and look at total revenue, $1.9 million, that's $50,000 ahead of budget and $171,000 ahead of last year. 2021 was another great year for expense controls. Compensation and benefits and parish programs were well below. Admin expenses and facilities and grounds were a little bit above, but those were due to some items out of our control, and we'll touch on that a little bit later. For the year, we had an operating surplus of $107,000. I'm throwing a lot of numbers out here. This is an important one. Operating surplus of $107,000. That compares to obviously a break-even budget and a small surplus of $4,000 last year. This represents the largest operating surplus that we've had in many years. I don't know how far back. I went back over 10 years and there's nothing even close to this. So that's a tremendous accomplishment, particularly in light of a capital campaign, in light of COVID and all the other stuff that we have going on. So kudos to everyone involved there. The vestry was able to pass a budget for 2022 last month. It's really substantially similar to this year's budget. Contributions, or 2021's budget, we're looking for contributions of $1.3 million. It's up about $6,000 over last year. We're looking for total revenue of $1.966 million. That's up about $104,000 over last year. And obviously $1.966 million in expenses to offset that for a break-even budget. We do anticipate significantly higher costs in healthcare, property and casualty insurance, and utilities, all things that are really out of our control. It's just what's happening in the world. As I outlined in the letter in the packet, I'll be rolling off as treasurer shortly. And obviously that always invites some time for reflection, and I think this is a good time for me to provide a little high-level summary of, I took a step back and reviewed the last 10 years of our financial performance. And I just want to provide a couple of big picture takeaways for you. It's important for us to all take stock of this. So from 2012 to 2016, St. James lost on average $68,000 per year. Over that period of time, we lost over $300,000, almost $350,000 in total. In comparison, over the past 5 years, the average operating loss was about $3,000. So from $68,000 to $3,000. Cumulative loss was $14,000. So $350,000 loss to about $14,000. And specifically over the last 3 years, we went from a break-even budget to small surplus last year or in 2020 to 107,000 surplus in 2021. So, I think that's a pretty remarkable turnaround, all things considered. This is good news, but all that most of that has been achieved through cost reductions. Nothing's been spared. Administrative expenses, labor, parish programming, we've been helped by a deflationary environment over the past several years. That's starting to change. We're starting to see costs creep up. If you look at property and casualty insurance, it's up over 50% in the last 3 years. Utilities up 30% over that same time. Healthcare costs up 25%. Point is, costs are going higher, and we can't really control that. Over the last 10 years, our pledge income has stayed in a pretty tight band. We're averaging just over $1 million. Last year's 1.22 million certainly is the highest point in recent history. But we've continued to rely on our investment portfolio to supplement the operating budget. And if you look at page 12 and 13, Jerry did a really nice job of providing a breakdown of how we do that, just for reference. But today we're utilizing about 5% of our applicable investments to fund the operating budget. We like that range to be in the 4 to 5% range. It's 4 to 5% band. So we're obviously at the higher end. Not a disaster. Over the past 10 years, we've had some points where we've been higher than 5%. But our investment portfolio is a great asset, and for continue to be so, we'd like to get down to that 4% range. So in a rising cost environment, the only way to do that is through increased revenue. The good news is we can accomplish this through relatively small increases in pledge income. Just for perspective, a 10% increase year over year in pledging per household would help to ensure, obviously, the operating performance, but reduce our use of those investment funds. Anything above and beyond that would allow us to augment staffing where appropriate and to grow our investments in parish programming. So certainly I want to end my term here, or my tenure here, on a positive note. So I really hope you don't construe those remarks in any way negative, quite the opposite. This parish is been so impressed by how overwhelming the spirit of giving is here. Instead, it's a challenge, I think. It's a goal for us all to recognize that we should be really proud of what we've accomplished, but know that we have the opportunity to further broaden the good work of this church. We dig in a little. So, look, I've had an opportunity to work with some excellent staffing clergy over this time, and the finance committee. In particular, I really want to thank Father Chris and Jerry Salzer. It's easy for me. My job is fairly easy in terms of I interpret and report what's happening with our financials. But the inside baseball is it's truly Jerry and Chris guiding the ship here, and they're the force that's behind the improvement in the financial situation. So kudos to them. Don't want that lost. And I'd also like to thank Lee, sitting right here. I was pretty hesitant to take this role, but he had a little bit of confidence in me and gave me a swift kick in the rear. And I'm really glad you did it, because it's been awesome. This church is really well positioned for success. Your incoming treasurer, Chris Harrell, obviously everybody here knows him. He's got tremendous institutional knowledge, and he's got the skills, talent, and experience. He's going to take us to the next level. So we're in great hands, and I couldn't be more enthusiastic about what lies ahead. So thank you very much. This ministry has allowed me to give back to a church that's given a lot to me. So it's been a joy. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Josh? I know that was a lot of numbers, but I always applaud Josh and his ability to be at both, real high level and where often I need it at low level, so that everyone can get meat out of his reports. And so, any of those questions or clarifications? If not, is there a motion to accept the financials as presented? Thank you, Mickey. Is there a second? Thank you, Lee. All right, the motion is before you to accept the financials as presented. Is any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Abstentions? One last time, I do want to thank Josh. Just absolutely incredible. Thank you for all you've done. I also want to take this opportunity to thank everyone that was on the executive committee. We have my just such a wonderful senior warden. He gives me credit, but I give him credit. Trey Roberts has been a support, a friend through the ups and downs. As you'll see in my report, I liken 2021 to playing that kids game red light, green light, where there's a lot of stop, go. But through it all, Trey was a constant of optimism and hope, and just a good advocate for all things St. James. And so, Trey, thank you so much for your leadership this past year as well. I want to thank Anita, who is our junior warden, and as I previously announced, is stepping into our senior warden role. And then also want to thank Ashley Fry, who served as our clerk, our vestry clerk. It was a great leadership team, and I look forward, though, because we are, as Josh said, we are set up wonderfully and beautifully for the future of our ministry together. This meeting is adjourned. Go in peace to love and serve the Lord.